back to the Feminist Frame for our special Game of Obsessions discussion of the Game of Thrones series finale. Over the course of 8 years, Game of Thrones has slowly built in popularity to become one of the most watched shows of all time. The finale was no different, as it broke the record for HBO's most watched episode, and we finally wrapped up the storylines for some of our favorite characters. I'm Aubrey, here to discuss the final episode with my co-host, Olivia.
Hello.
And our fellow devout GOT fan, Lauren.
Hello.
Before we get started, please know we will be spoiling the entire series of Game of Thrones, as it's all out now. So if you're not caught up, please stop listening now and bookmark this episode for later. So diving in, what did you guys think? Olivia?
I 85% loved it.
So exact.
Yeah. I thought most of the character arcs were satisfactorily completed and wrapped up. Though I wish we would have spent a little bit more times over the past 2 seasons getting there. But yeah, for the most part, I really liked it. Save maybe one particular story arc within the show's storytelling. But yeah, so I dug it. What about you, Lauren?
I guess 85 is
it's a good number, right?
It's a good number. I liked it. I liked the way it ended. It's really hard to complain about something that you loved for so long at the same time.
Gotta really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do want to talk about kind of like all of the pushback from fans, but I was thinking that too. Like, did you guys forget that these are the same writers who made the show?
Yeah.
I definitely have some complaints too, but I don't know. People act like it's just like all was for naught now.
I would give it an 8 out of 10 on my Game of Thrones spectrum.
See, I think, yeah, that's hard to say, but 8 out of 10 for like TV generally, because I think it's still better than most TV.
Yes.
In the Game of Thrones world, I do think some parts were lacking, but yeah, I will say, according to the internet unpopular opinion, I mostly really liked it. And I love like the conclusion for so many of my favorite characters, where they went, especially Sansa and Arya and Jon, and kind of just the focus on the Starks in the last episode, which we'll talk a little bit more later. Well, speaking of internet reactions, I'm sure you guys have all seen the petition.
Yeah, why does the internet hate this so much?
Rude.
I mean, yeah, rude is the right. I just like, even if you dislike it, I mean, we have a podcast dedicated to criticism of pop culture, right? Like, we're all for criticism. But to say you need to remake it is so entitled.
I didn't like it, do it over.
Yeah, especially when your beef is with the writers, like, that's not just them. Like, the cast and crew has worked so hard on this. Like,
to deliver something for you.
If you look at, like, just the camera crew, like, the dragon crews, and, like, all the different places they go, makeup artists, the incredible costume art, and like the composer that we love, like it's just insulting to so many more people than I think they realize.
Well, and I don't know how different it would really be.
Well, and like, also it's not going to happen.
Well,
right.
Well, for sure, but you know they're saying rewrite it, but I don't think it would be that different than George R. Martin's like a plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, how do you know?
And that's the thing, like, whenever they have, like, these big beefs with, like, the plot points, you're just kind of like, most of these were probably going to be hit anyways.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some legitimate, like, beefs to have, and one of mine is, like, how rushed it felt. But as far as, the plot points go, I mean, George R. Martin and the writers have said they got a lot of these things from him directly. So, like, would I rather read about it over the course of 2,000+ page books? For sure. Than 13 episodes. But it's still, and I'm sure some things are going to be different. I mean, we have, like, you know, a bunch of absent characters that are still floating around in the books. But, yeah, I agree that I don't think it's going to be a crazy big difference. Especially with, like, the main thing that people hate is the Dany twist. And I definitely think that that's where George R. R. Martin is going.
Yeah, like, there's never any way that somebody who's constantly threatening to throw people under, you know, dragon fire is going to come out being a, you know, beneficent queen
well,
to everybody.
And just the power of dragons is really just too much for one ruler to have and not be kind of slowly corrupted by it, I would say. But yeah, I the internet reaction is like a little silly, and it almost, even though I do have criticisms, like pushes me back to the other side. Like, well, it's not as bad as you guys say it is.
Same.
Right.
Like, totally. Like, I've been pretty empathetic towards a lot of the criticism coming from the internet. But then I read things and, you know, people are like, oh, everything was talking about a waste of scenes, like Dany's speech. Or like Tyrion. Yeah, like, or like Tyrion in the dungeon, like talking to Jon. And they're like, that was such a waste of time. It's like, no, those were probably one of the most powerful scenes in the episode.
And they developed where we are.
Yeah. But, you know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I've also seen like and read some articles that are basically like, this is the worst finale in all of history. Like,
oh my God.
Oh, come on.
You clearly
like,
never watched Lost.
Yeah.
Or all of those other TV shows that we're not talking about today.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like...
I think so many shows don't stick the landing, and that goes from, like, lighthearted comedies to big dramas like this. Especially, and, like, so many shows don't even, like, keep momentum up until the finale.
Right.
How many of them, like, I couldn't tell you about Mad Men until years later because I just got bored of watching the show, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's not
insanity.
like, you know, there's a meme going around, you know, that was like, Ned wakes up and was like, Kat, I had this terrible dream. You know, like, there was no cop-out here for this ending. So, like, all of these characters had, you know, destination. Maybe it's not where you wanted them to go, but, like, they all had, like, full, complicated arcs.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the episode a little bit. So, you know, right in the beginning, Tyrion is obviously unhappy with what happened. He begged Dany to spare the people of King's Landing. And it's funny, too, because if you think of that callback back to when he's on trial.
Yeah.
And he talks about the Battle of Blackwater Bay and how he saved the city, and then he's just like, I wish I would have let you all be burnt, or whatever, like, not burned, but, like, just be killed by Stannis. And in anger, he says that, but now you see that has happened, and how just, like, he is a really empathetic person.
Devastated.
And, yeah, and it under
as any sane person would be.
A person, the queen he vouched for has done his worst fear. And then, of course, he does go find Jaime and Cersei because he has to know what happened to them.
I did love that the hand was just right on top.
Well,
right on top there. I mean, like, I know why, but it was still fun nonetheless.
Yeah, and I even before that, like, walking into the Red Keep, you know, you can see all the kind of emotion on his face because that's where his family lived for so long. And, you know, you think of all, like, the petty fights he had with Tywin and Cersei in that place, and now all of them are gone, and so is the Red Keep, for the most part. But, yeah, I do think that, like, just showing them was a little bit for fans, too. Like, they know we don't trust them when we have deaths off screen, so they're like, no, they're really dead.
Because there was even, you know, people like, do you think they're really dead under there? Like, after, you know, the penultimate episode.
I half expected Cersei to, like, come out from that rubble, I'm not gonna lie, just because it does seem like Game of Thrones, something they would do. But I will say, like, right before watching the finale, I got a little bit sad remembering that Lena Headey and Nikolai Coster-Waldau were not going to be in the finale, because not only two of my favorites, but probably two of the best, absolute best actors on the series. Like, they are so incredible. So it's a little sad to have an episode without them. But yeah, and then the Unsullied executing the Lannister soldiers, which Jon is not happy about. He tries to stop Grey Worm, and Grey Worm's like, I don't give a fuck what you say.
Yeah, there's
I have
like
orders from the queen.
No mercy whatsoever. And like, you know, historically, I feel like that's a really bad place to be at, guys.
Yeah.
Whenever they like kill all of the like prisoners like that they've taken.
Well, and we've talked about, like, when you call your banners like that fucking dumb kid from some part of Casterly Rock that's probably poor. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care about Cersei or
Wasn't their decision
Tywin
to
or the
come here.
Lannisters. Like, they just have to go because you called your banners, and that's what they have to
Right.
do. So, yeah, it's definitely pretty merciless, and, you know, Jon knows that. But thinking back, like, we've seen Grey Worm and the Unsullied do great things, but they were raised and became these crazy mercenaries without mercy and, like, through a lot of abuse. So...
Right, and they're just, I mean...
They're brutal
it still
warriors.
seems like that, you know, the whole gang of the Unsullied there is, you know, they're there to follow orders, and their orders are
That's
execute
how they've
them
been
all.
trained. Yeah,
So,
if that's what
and
you want me
like,
to do, that's
you know,
what I do.
Grey Worm gives no fucks anymore.
But
Like,
Well-
did she order that?
I think so, yeah.
because Grey Worm
Because
says
Jon
he...
confirms it later.
So I feel like Grey Worm
That's why he's
maybe
like-
wouldn't overstep that, like, since Dany's still around, you know, and still giving orders.
So Jon goes to find her to talk about it, and we get this epic speech of Dany's, and I just love so much of the cinematography has been so talk about, like, you know, people you're insulting. Whoever's doing the cinematography
Right.
is freaking amazing.
This season has been the best.
Oh my god, this
The
season.
symbolism, like, she is the
Dragon!
dragon.
Rings perfectly
I have
behind
chills
her.
now
Oh.
thinking about it. Yeah,
And
it's so
like
good.
with all the ash, it's all like so gray, and you know,
I do remember that scene coming up, and like it's just quiet, and everybody's watching. I'm just like, that's dope. Like
Yeah.
this
And yet-
shot is amazing.
insane, you know, just like dictators through history, like kind of like Lenin vibes and like all of this dystopia. And she's talking about the same thing. She's talking about liberating places in the midst of all this destruction. And you have that kind of, you know, dichotomy there, what she's talking about and what she's sitting on, which is like a pile of ashes.
I thought the speech was great. It was very
one of the best moments.
yeah, tyrant
Yeah.
and like I love the fact that like she doesn't feel that, right? And then
Yeah.
the Unsullied and the Dothraki don't feel that, like, because they're caught up in the moment, you know. They think they're doing right, they think they're liberating the whole world, and you know, it's just the words that she says are like echoed throughout like history and all these moments. Like, most tyrants and despots don't think that they are, you know, they think that they're doing good, and
Yeah.
like because of their leadership, you know, they will bring the world to a better place.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, go listen to a speech back in the day by Mussolini or Hitler or Lenin, and they're talking about liberating the people. It's never like
Let's kill everybody and
It
rub their
doesn't
face in the dirt some
sound-
more.
Exactly. It never sounds like a tyrant unless you're listening closely. You know what I mean? Their goals are always lofty and beautiful sounding unless you pay attention to what they're doing. But yeah, I love that part. And then also that she's speaking in Dothraki to the Dothraki, and then Valyrian to the Unsullied, which also, you can tell, makes the Westerosi people very uncomfortable because they don't know what she's saying, except for you have a little bit of facial reaction from Jon, because you can hear her say Winterfell, and then you can hear her kind of say Lannisport and these other languages, and you see Tyrion's face at that as he's walking up. But
For sure, and just like the energy and vibes that they're all throwing off, you know, like, I mean, you have no idea what they're saying, but they all look really excited that they just burned all of these civilians and children. Like, there's something a little fucked up about that.
well, and she also says Quarth in some places in Essos, so like she has no intentions of stopping. She has, I mean, basically she had no casualties in her armies because she just burnt everything. Like, I don't, like,
So she's
almost
still stacked.
none. So she has a huge army still behind her, and now she's ready to go deal with places that wronged her in the past, like Quarth.
So are you guys saying that like you aren't on her side at this point?
I think that what I'm saying is, like, while she's out there giving the speeches, it's meant to sound like she's going to go out and continue and conquer the world. But like, we know, because we've seen her just burnt the shit out of the city, that like there's something else underneath all of this that like her and her armies aren't quite picking up on, and it's dangerous.
That's totally fair. I guess I have like a problem with framing it like that. And I think this goes back to like